Welcome back to Noir Alley. I'm your host, Eddie Muller. Today we're bringing you another offering from Hollywood's House of Noir, RKO Radio Pictures. In past months, we've shown a number of films from the studio's B unit. But today's film, The Tattooed Stranger from 1950, is a fish from a different kettle. For starters, the movie wasn't made in Hollywood. It was shot entirely on location in New York City at the studios of RKO Pathé, located at 106th and Park Avenue. But this is no stagey, set-bound production. The Tattooed Stranger hits the streets running and makes sensational use of actual Manhattan locations, from its opening in Central Park to police headquarters in Brooklyn, from the Bowery's Skid Row to desolate parts of the Bronx. So in addition to being an intriguing forensics-based police procedural, this movie is also an amazing travelogue of mid-20th century New York. Now, capturing authentic sights and sounds was second nature to RKO Pathé. By the 1940s, it had become primarily the documentary division of RKO, producing short subjects that the studio would package for its own theaters, along with an A and a B feature, a cartoon, and a newsreel. Under the stewardship of Frederick Ullman Jr. and Gilbert Seldes, RKO Pathé had since 1942 been producing a documentary series called This Is America, created to compete with popular newsreels such as The March of Time and The World Today. This Is America was different. Instead of focusing on the major news, it presented in monthly theatrical installments a cross-section of daily American life. The films, usually running between 15 and 20 minutes, offered an informal and optimistic view of what made the nation run, with an emphasis on the can-do spirit of the American people. Most of them focused on small-town life or examined the American way in industry, medicine, transportation, and education. An excursion to Manhattan in 1948, for example, resulted in a documentary about the inner workings of the New York Times, entitled Democracy's Diary. The same trip produced a documentary short called Crime Lab, which offered an up-close look at the forensic crime-solving skills of New York's Homicide Division. Crime Lab was released in RKO theaters in May 1948, less than 2 months after Mark Hellinger's The Naked City opened to critical acclaim and box office success. With RKO in financial straits following its takeover by Howard Hughes, Pathé's vice president and general manager, Jay Bonifield, citing the success of The Naked City, petitioned RKO headquarters in Hollywood to let him produce a feature that would expand the 17-minute Crime Lab into a 64-minute companion piece, Trade Talk, for a B picture. The Tattooed Stranger had been written by Phil Reisman Jr., the son of RKO's foreign sales manager. He had written numerous installments of This Is America before drafting this, his first feature script. Because the Pathé team was used to shooting on a shoestring and on the fly, Bonifield claimed he could produce his first feature for a fraction of what RKO usually spent on companion pieces. RKO production chief Sid Rogel gave Bonifield his head and a paltry $124,000 budget to make this film. With the dearth of production at RKO in 1950, the picture filled out the bottom half of many double bills that year, turning an adequate profit and scoring decent reviews. Like The Naked City, The Tattooed Stranger drew its story from actual NYPD files. The picture's strong suit is its dynamic approach to authenticity, which at times equals the look and feel of The Naked City. But none of the filmmakers had worked in theater or studio filmmaking, and they clearly are not used to directing actors, particularly blocking out routine dialogue scenes. Much of the cast comprised veteran New York theater actors who were left pretty much to fend for themselves. Once in a while, a non-actor is used to good effect, something the filmmakers were adept at, considering This Is America shorts contained as many staged reenactments as genuine documentary footage. While the expository passage work is sometimes stilted, and the insertion of an obligatory romantic angle is as awkward as a high school play, the street-level police work, as well as the action scenes, are very well done. Director Edward Montaigne, this was his first feature film as well, was adept at coming up with interesting compositions within the cramped confines of actual locations, whether it's a police station, a tattoo parlor, or an automobile. He's abetted by director of photography William O. Steiner, who, like the rest of the creative team, mainly shot documentaries. But Steiner knew his way around New York, having previously been borrowed from Pathé in 1947 to shoot on-location exteriors in Greenwich Village for RKO's 1949 thriller, The Window. Originally entitled Back Trail, a police term that pops up later in the film, it would be no stretch at all to call this the very first episode of CSI New York. Now, how far ahead of its time was this movie? Well, the tattoo in question, around which the entire plot revolves, is on a woman. I wonder if Alicia is watching. From RKO Pathé in 1950, here is The Tattooed Stranger.